She used to fear the dark. Now it whispers her name.
There was a forgotten village tucked beneath the cold shadows of the mountains. No bird sang, no wind stirred. Even time itself seemed to move slower there. Emily and Thomas, living a quiet life with their 4 children. They farmed the land, followed the seasons, and embraced each simple day. But something unkin had begun to move, creeping closer, slipping in, slowly, and with it, a darkness that would change everything. One day, the family made their way to the village cemetery. The path was quiet, but the graves were quieter still. Emily watched the children from a distance. Her youngest boy traced letters on a stone. The others arranged wilted flowers. Thomas stood between 2 old graves, whispering a prayer. Just as they turned to leave, something caught her eye, a faint glint, as if the dirt itself was glowing. At first she dismissed it, took a few steps away. But then, a muzzle. Something inside her whispered, "Look, go back." She turned, knelt slowly, dug her fingers into the soil. And there it was, small, cold, almost breathing. Strange markings were etched on its surface, and without knowing why, she spoke. A whisper. Not her voice, not Interly. Shichireru et nishamti haafla, tenu lynchmatenu lihitakad. Suddenly, a shudder ran through her. The glow darkened. The heat scorched her skin. She gasped and threw the thing to the ground. "Emily, where are you?" Thomas called out. She stood, brushed off her skirt, and waited. But something within her was no longer sleeping. After that day, something changed in Emily. At first it was subtle. She was quieter, more distracted. She stopped sleeping through the night. Then, the disappearances began. Every time there was a funeral in the village, Emily would vanish after dark. When Thomas asked, her answers were always the same. "I went to offer condolences. I was out in the barn. I just needed some fresh air." He didn't question it at first, but the village began to whisper. They said the graves looked disturbed the next morning, that the earth had shifted. Sometimes there were smells, rot, decay, and some people simply stopped talking about it. Thomas started lying awake every night, staring at the ceiling, listening. And then one morning, he saw them. Dried, muddy footprints streaked across the wooden floor, leading all the way to Emily's closet. That moment, something broke in for him. That night, there was another funeral, and Thomas did not plan to sleep. Night fell. The house was still. The children were asleep. Emily stood by the window, hair loose, eyes distant. Then, she dressed quietly, took her shoes in hand, opened the door, and slipped into the night. Thomas was already waiting, a flashlight in one hand, a hidden pistol at his side. His heart pounded like thunder. He followed her. Emily walked with purpose, each step steady, unafraid of the dark. But Thomas knew Emily had always feared the night, deeply, even as a child. Now, she didn't flinch, didn't look back. It was as if the dark belonged to her. They reached the cemetery. She stopped. Then she knelt, and with her bare hands, she began to dig, slowly, silently, like she'd done it before. Thomas held his breath. The moonlight revealed her face, empty, expressionless. Then, she opened the coffin, lifted the freshly buried corpse, and from her coat, pulled out an old rusted knife. She plunged it into the chest, and removed the heart. Slowly, deliberately, she knelt and began to eat, eyes closed as if in prayer. Thomas couldn't take it anymore. This was not his wife. Thomas couldn't take it anymore. He stepped out of the shadows and yelled, "What are you doing? Who are you? What did you do to my wife?" Emily snapped her head around. A twisted scream tore through the night. Then she ran, straight at him, fast, wild, animalistic. Thomas stumbled back, hand on his gun shaking. He fired. The shot echoed across the cemetery. She fell. By a large stone. Blood spilled. But her eyes were still locked on his. Thomas rushed forward. "Oh God, what have I done?" He dropped to his knees. Tears pouring, heart pounding. He called toward the stone. Did he shoot his wife or something else? He leaned over. Behind the stone, there was no one. No blood. No body. Just stillness. Emptiness. Excellence. Thomas backed away, hands over his mouth. Then a sound. A whisper. A dry leaf. Maybe. He turned around. Nothing. But his breath caught. His chest tightened. And then a voice. Caught. Close. Thomas. It sounded like her. But it wasn't coming from the air. It came from the dirt. His eyes dropped. The soil was rising. Something beneath it was breathing.